used to have the whole fridges without a shirt next to it. And we all like it. Good morning and welcome to Charger Chat. I'm Madison.
And I'm Amelia, and this is Jerry Shaw. He works at Pemco Insurance in the marketing department. So how was your life growing up?
Well, I've had quite an interesting life. I pretty much am a Northwest native, so I've grown up in the Northwest, in the north end of Seattle. Went to Shorecrest High School, and then from there went on to the University of Washington. So I haven't strayed far from home.
So University of Washington, have you applied there? Or?
I haven't applied. I've been looking at a lot of different colleges. I'm kind of going on like a smaller college, you know, for like a certain type of path. What led you to the UW?
You know, it was interesting. It was just the thing that was top of mind for me back in the day, and that was a while ago. It was a little bit smaller back then, and it was just near home, and you know, had a great reputation, and so that's where I decided to apply. I also applied at USC, but didn't want to really go that far away.
So what kind of led you to focus more on marketing in school?
You know, actually it was a business focus. So I went to school to get a business degree. But within the realm of everything that you do in business, the one discipline that kind of stood out was marketing and sales. And so I think to be, you know, effective in marketing, you have to have a broad understanding of business. But at the same time, there are some things that are specific to marketing. And so that's kind of how I introduced it, or introduced it to myself. Yeah.
We have a school here. We have SFE, and it's a business school. They have a little coffee shop in there, you know, so they're kind of learning about, you know, being in that kind of area. If you know, were to go over there and kind of see their environment in their classes where they specifically focus on that, what do you think that you could bring to that from a college level instead of just like a high school standpoint?
Well, I think, you know, you want to look at any business from a broad lens. You know, you want to look at it from an accounting lens. Are we making money? Do we have debt? Do we have fixed costs? I think you want to look at it through a brand lens. Do we have a brand that people remember and think about? I think you want to look at it from an analytical lens. You know, what have the trends been? Are sales going up? Sales going down? I think those are the lenses you want to look at a business through. There's multiple lenses, but I think from a college standpoint, it's more than just turning inventory. You want to think about the future, and can we earn more or less? Can we make more profit if we buy certain products in bulk? Do we get a better cost? And so our long-term profits will be higher. So I think there's a lot of different lenses that you can look at a business through. And what's interesting is whether it's a small coffee shop or a large Fortune 500 business, a lot of the concepts and principles are really the same.
Yeah.
Interesting. So once you got your business degree, what kind of process did you go through getting certified for your job besides just education?
Well, I think after I graduated from school, I think in the day that, like I said, back in the day, it was really about companies coming to the campus to recruit new graduates. And so there were certain companies that were looking for business graduates. And so I ended up starting with a company called Energizer Batteries as a sales position. And I was with them for 3 or 4 years. And so I think that transition from graduation to the working world is one that you just have to experience. You just have to dive in and go for it, because I think there's a misnomer that you get trained, and that's the end of your learning. That I come out of college and I'm good to go. I know everything, you know, and that's really not true. It's when you get your first job out of college, you're just continuing your learning. I heard a funny quote one time where somebody said, when you're going to college, you're paying money to learn, right? All right? When you get a job right out of college, the way you should look at it is the company's paying you now to learn.
Oh, that's a good way to look
It's
at it.
kind of a nice way to think of it, right? So you want to keep learning, and you want to stay with a company for 2-3 years until you've learned as much as you can, and then you want to move on and keep learning. So it's not like the business world is not like a certification. You know, I've got to have these credentials in order to have this certificate in order to do my job. Business world is much broader, and there's so much to learn. You never quit learning.
Moving back just a little bit from like you know, about where you are now. When you were in college, kind of towards like your last year, where was your life? Like, what was it like, and where did you want to see it move after you graduated?
Let's see. I guess it was a balance between, you know, social parties and trying to figure out, you know, okay, what am I going to really do? I gotta be able to take care of myself, right?
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, the focus was really just a practical one. You know, I wanted to get out into the workforce and see what that was, because I didn't really know. I mean, I had part-time jobs during college, and so you learn a lot at those jobs. But I think, you know, as you get to become a junior or a senior, you have to sort of say, geez, I've got to do something with this investment. I need to get some kind of return on it, right? So I wasn't the type that said, hey, you know, I'm going to go travel the world or whatever. I was like, all right, I need a job. I got to go out and, you know, earn money and learn, keep learning. So that was kind of my focus in my senior years. You know, just I gotta make something of this. I can't just you know, let it go. So.
You mentioned some part-time jobs. What kind of jobs did you do during college?
During college, I had a lot of jobs. I worked the summers. There was a couple of summers I worked in Alaska, and I worked it was like a 3-month stay, and I would work about 100 hours a week. It was really different. Again, a total learning experience. I had never experienced being out of my little world, and I had never experienced working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I learned a lot, again, under that theme, and that really helped because you earned some money and you couldn't spend it because you were trapped in Alaska, right? And then during the school year, I worked as a waiter at a steak restaurant. And that worked out really well because I could, you know, go to classes during the day, study in the afternoon, work at night, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was fun.
So how did you manage your time with all of that?
Yeah, time management is something, you know, it's really different for every person. Some people are night owls, some people, you know, are morning people. And I think you just have to, you know, adapt and see what works for you. If you're achieving what you want in school in terms of your grades, and you're also working part-time, and that's a good balance, perfect. If your grades are suffering, maybe you need to back off the work a little bit. You know, so I think it's just about priorities.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think if, you know, school is your priority, then you want to make sure that's running the way you want it to run. And if it isn't, then I would back off some of the other things. You know, going out, working, because school was the priority.
Yeah.
Well, I apologize. We are going to come back with some more information about him. As much as we do love talking to you, we are going to go to a segment and come right back and learn more about you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Blah, blah.
What are we even being dragged down here for? PSAT prep, duh, look at the board.
It's okay.
Okay, class. Today, as you can see, we're
about the water cycle because that's relevant. Yay!
I already know what the water cycle is.
I don't.
Well, you're gonna learn.
So the first part of the water cycle is when it rains. In the clouds, there's pink unicorns, and when they get sad, they cry, and then their tears will come down.
Oh, I remember that. See, now it makes sense. What are you even talking about? That's not what I remember.
Well, I'm the teacher, and I'm right, and what I say goes. So,
Next, the water flows down here in the crudest form for when the hippos stand. When they have to go somewhere, they have to walk somewhere.
That makes so much sense. You know, I'm big green, so they step, and then water goes in, and it stays.
Next, then the fairies come and they fill up their cups with the water from the fills from the hippos. And then they carry it up so that they can drink it. And then lastly, then they go and they sit in the clouds and wait. And then the fairies go and play with the pink unicorns. And then they make the unicorns cry and then it happens all over again.
Who the heck are you?
Hello, welcome back to Charger Chat. I'm Madison. This
I'm
is
Amelia.
Amelia. Sorry. And this is Jerry. We were just talking about his, his college, his after college plans, and now we're going to get a little bit more in depth about what he really does.
Terrific. What do you want to know?
So after you were recruited by Energizer, what was your path to Pemco?
The path to Pemco was it was really driven around sales. So when I worked for Energizer, I was a sales representative, and I was out working with businesses, placing our product within their business, and it was all about relationships, building relationships with your buyers and with the different store owners, and that was kind of my practical experience at that point. And then I decided, I'd really like to remain in the Northwest. And with a larger company like Energizer, you really need to move around. You need to go, every 2 to 3 years you need to move to a different city and in order to continue growing in your career. So I said, I'd like to try and find an opportunity where I can continue my growth within an organization, but not have to relocate physically.
Yeah.
And so Pemco was a great match because they're headquartered here in Seattle. And so I initially started with them as an insurance agent. And that's where I kind of took my skills from being a sales rep and started as an agent selling insurance for Pemco. And I wasn't a traditional agent that is like outside in a small office in a neighborhood. I was someone who basically worked over the telephone, and I would take calls, and we would, arrange what they needed for their auto insurance or their home insurance. And that's how I sort of got my foot in the door and transitioned using the skills I'd learned at Energizer and then moving into Pemco in a sales role. So that was how I kind of started that path.
That's a good point, really, just like wanting to stay at home, because I'm sure like with your family too, you wanted to kind of settle down somewhere rather than just bouncing around all over the place.
My family had moved around, a fair amount, and it has its pros and cons. There's not a right way to do it, but for me personally, it was like, I'd like to, have a place to call home and balance sort of my lifestyle with a career and a profession.
Yeah. So you started out as the insurance agent. How did you get promoted to your current position?
What was interesting is at the time, the company Pemco had kind of a limited marketing department at the time. And there was a push within the organization to really expand that and grow that. And I thought, that's what I went to school for. And I've got some practical experience in sales. I'm essentially in sales. I'm talking about what marketing created, right? And I said, you know, being in sales, I think I learned that I can create key messages, I can create value propositions that I think would be more effective than the ones we had. And so I kind of, it was kind of a two-sided coin, right?
Yeah.
You've got somebody implementing what marketing creates, and you got somebody creating it on the front end. And so I thought, you know, I have a background in marketing in terms of education and some practical experience implementing what marketing creates. So I want to go on the other side and create those messages and create those marketing and business plans, and then have the salespeople implement them.
Yeah.
So, so anyway, they had an opening. We started to bring more technology into the business, and so we started with a marketing database that was brand new. And so I came over as somebody who would take a look at our current customers from a completely different view, from an analytical view. And so I was basically a database marketing person. And so I could say, well, you know, this segment has this needs, and this segment has these needs, and why don't we have more of this segment, and do we have too much of this one? And so those were the kinds of things that I started to explore in that role in marketing. And so that's kind of how I got my start. A lot of people think of marketing as just creative, a visual, a graphic design, a logo. But marketing is so much broader than that. That's a very important piece, but also the analytics, the market segmentation, your pricing of your products, how you deliver your products, through what channels. All of those things are part of marketing. But a lot of folks maybe in high school or college might think of marketing as much more narrow, and just think about the creative side of it. But it's really much broader, and that's why I really recommend, if someone is interested in marketing, that they go to a business school, because you have to understand business and the breadth of the things that you need to know about business. If you understand that, then you can see where marketing fits in. You know, where does marketing contribute to the business? But you have to understand the broader business.
So, like, you talked about, like, people interested in marketing. What kind of classes should people take if they're interested in going down that path?
You know, it's the really cool thing is you can get your foot in the door into marketing through multiple channels. So a marketing team might be comprised of people who understand statistics, understand data and modeling. It might have creative people that design and create photos and pictures and commercials. You might have people in the marketing team that do consumer research. They go out and talk to people. They go out and find out what drives them to a brand. So, you know, when you're thinking about going into marketing, you can get into the door through a lot of those different disciplines. And then I think as a marketing manager, you want to have an appreciation of all those disciplines, because they all have to work together. And you probably got there, like I did, through one of those doors. But you have to learn the other ones. You don't have to be an expert at all of those. That'd be kind of impossible. But you can get into the door through a variety of channels. You know, whether it's the creative side, the data side, the research side, all of those things are required in a marketing team.
So it's kind of like a jack of all trades kind of thing.
It is. It really is. You know, I think, you know, like I said, you have experts and people with certain disciplines, and but everybody has to have an appreciation for how it all fits together. You know, and it's, you know, the kind of a silly analogy is, you know, you have a recipe to bake a lasagna, you know, and you gotta have all the ingredients for it to turn out right. And you have to have somebody that knows how to cook it. You have to have somebody that knows how to buy the stuff. You know, it's kind of a silly analogy, but
That's good.
yeah.
So we'd love to get more into like the specific job parts of your job, but we just have to take a quick break, so we'll be right back.
Perfect,
Ask more
thanks.
questions, yeah.
My goodness, I am so ready for this test. I've been studying
All night.
Can't wait to pass this stupid test. I just want my license already. When driving at higher speeds, which method helps you determine the safe following distance between you and the vehicle ahead? Using the 3 times rule, using the 3-second rule, checking your rear view mirrors, flashing your headlight. I know this is A. Definitely A. What? No, that's correct. Okay, whatever. I know I'll get this one right. During an enforcement stop by a law enforcement officer, it is wrong to pull off the stop close to the right-hand edge or curb, limit your movements, keep all vehicle doors closed, immediately make sure you have necessary documents ready. It's definitely this one. I have to get this one right. As a driver, you do not need to wear seatbelts when it's equipped with airbags. Duh. What? Oh, come on. Seriously? Wait. This is the California test. Oh my gosh. Are you serious? I'm from Washington.
And we're back. So earlier, this is Jerry, and I'm Amelia, and this is Madison. So,
Great to be
So-
back.
You were talking a lot about, growth and kind of your own personal thing that you bring to the business. And I was just wondering, is there certain things about yourself that you know benefit you in this area of work?
Yes. There's kind of this theory of in marketing that it takes art and science to kind of be really good at marketing. There's a lot of
Okay.
creativity. There's a lot of thinking outside the box. There's a lot of analytics and decision making and planning. And I definitely lean towards the analytical or science part of marketing. And so that's why the database marketing and some of those analytics behind the scenes was appealing to me when I first started, because I wanted to really understand, who the customer is. I want to understand how they think. I want to understand how they behave.
Yeah.
And so I'm a little more analytical, and so I think that's my strength in terms of contributing to the marketing mission and vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are your abilities stretched? And since you were leaning more towards the analytical, what parts of marketing kind of stretched your abilities and kind of made you learn new things?
Definitely everything around branding. How you nurture and develop a brand, what the personality of the brand should be, and how those personality traits translate into the content and the things you manufacture. So if you really understand the personality of a brand, kind of like the personality of a person, then the commercial you make, or the billboard you make, or the mailing that you create should all look like they're kind of coming from that same person.
Yeah.
It's kind of the brand personality or whatever. And so what you don't want is to have those things feel like they're different people. And so for me, that was a stretch for me, because I wanted to do things that were effective in terms of the return, the numbers. But it's important to create those things within the umbrella of that personality or that brand.
Yeah.
And so that was a stretch for me to say, I can still get those numbers but I still need to overlay it with this filter of who the company is and
Yeah.
the message we want to get out.
Yeah.
So.
So what was one of your favorite campaigns that you've worked on for a marketing campaign for Pemco?
For Pemco, yes. We've had some very successful campaigns. We did a tremendous amount of consumer research back in around, it was back in 2008, 2008. And that was the part I loved because we were going out to try and find out, how do people think about insurance? What do they even care? What we learned, pretty funny, people hate insurance. I mean, they don't want to think about it. It's complicated. They feel like you're paying for something that you never get to use. But when you get in a car accident or your home burns down, you're really, really, really happy
Yeah.
that you have insurance. But not everybody has a claim. So anyway, we did a lot of research and found that, it's really people just don't want to talk about insurance. They want to talk about the neighbors. They want to talk about fun stuff.
Yeah.
And so we developed a campaign called "We're a Lot Like You, a Little Different." And so we decided that being a local company was a differentiator for us
Yeah.
against the big national companies. And so how do we prove or how do we demonstrate that we understand the local market better than our competition? And so we came up with a campaign that focuses on Northwest profiles. We're a lot like you, a little different. So we had a profile of a guy wearing Tevas and socks. We call him Socks and Sandals guy. You see that in the Northwest, right? And it's kind of weird. We had a profile called Blue Tarp Campers. When you go camping in the Northwest, it always rains on you. So
Yeah.
things like that. We had the first snowflake freakout lady. So, in Seattle, Portland, when you get a first flake of snow,
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's like, oh my, it's like Snowmageddon, right?
Yeah, it's like the best thing ever.
The whole thing is going to shut down, right? The whole city is coming to a halt. So we, looked at the kinds of things that people would laugh at, that they would either say, I'm that person, or I know that person.
Yeah.
And so that was a campaign that was a platform that we've taken through for quite a while. And we activate it in different ways. So you can do it digitally, you can do it through TV and traditional media, radio, but that's kind of the theme. And so that's something that the whole company, quite frankly, has been really proud of. And I also think that the power of that, not only is it with consumers that you're trying to endear,
Yeah.
but it also is really good for your employees and the staff of the company, because they want to feel proud of the company as well. And so, living the brand from the inside, and then demonstrating it on the outside. So if you say we're a little different, but then people call in and we're not different,
Exactly.
it's just a message, right? So an example operationally how we lived the brand was we learned in that research that people hate phone trees. Press one for this and go to this and go to this and go to this and blah, 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 blah. So we said, you know what? Let's be different. Let's answer the phone with a live person. Imagine that. Hi, this is Pemco. How can I help you?
For once.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so those are kinds of things that that we sort of wove into that. And it's been very successful for us.
Very good. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being with us. We'll make sure everyone keeps an eye out for more Pemco ads. I'm sure everyone's seen them. And
That's right.
keep an eye out for them. Now we know a little bit more what goes behind them. But yeah, thank you so much for going into your job with us. And
Oh,
it's
thank
great
you much for
here.
having me. I really
Yeah,
enjoyed
it's
it.
been really interesting hearing about it, especially with your point of view and the different parts of your life. You can definitely hear what you have to say, and we can be like, oh, like that makes sense. And your campaign, that was really interesting to hear about. I've never really heard about a business doing that because I'm so used to the phone tree type things.
Sure,
And that's really cool
sure.
that you guys are doing that. I'm so glad that we got to hear about it. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Well, this has been Charger Chat. Have a great afternoon, Marysville.